Welcome to Crushing the Meta. You can call me D.boy, and today I'm here for you guys with a new video or a new series. And in this series, we'll be talking about relay fights.
Crushing the meta.
In the Netherlands, we will be having a tournament of relay fight teams. So if you're interested and you want to join us, make sure to send us a message and we will be able to hook you up with where and when the tournament will be played. So for that, we will be adjusting some of the rules, some of the official rules that Bushiroad made for the relay fights. So if you guys agree with us or don't agree with us, put a comment in the comment section below for us to make change to the rulings. If you have new ideas that we didn't thought about, tell us about that. But before we do this, I would like to show you our Facebook page. We post a lot of different stuff on our Facebook page. We also have more followers on our Facebook than on our YouTube channel. If you haven't seen our YouTube channel yet, I advise you to go and watch it. We have a lot of different videos, some old videos, some new ones, and also some different series for you guys to watch and enjoy. So if you haven't seen our YouTube yet, go to our videos, like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and we like all the love, the support that you guys give us. But for today's video, as I said, we will be talking about the relay fights and some of the extra rulings that we add to the official rulings. And we will be testing this out in the summer break because we will be having a summer break with our team, with Crushing the Meta and also people from Vanguard Insider. If you haven't, or if you don't know what Vanguard Insider are, well, it's a group of people who made this, a strike table as they like to call it. We have seen the video. This is the video from different fights on. In this video, you can see what the table could do, and also you could go to their own Facebook page, their YouTube channel, and then you will have the other video that they made themselves. You see Eric here talking about the table. Intro. So if you haven't seen this yet, I would also advise you to go and watch it. It's a great project that they created with a table that you could play on, like a big tablet. They also call it a stride tablet or stride table. So yeah, go and watch that. And as I said, for today's video, we'll be talking about the relay fights. So let's talk about the rulings and some of the rulings that we add. So first of all, the guide that we have right here, I'll be adding a link of the stride table and for the rulings in the description section below for you guys to be able to watch and maybe to read the rulings yourself. So yeah, the relay fight rulings. Well, if you haven't seen the video or the episode 18, when you can see Team Try 3 versus the Bren's team or Asteroid, and how they played. It's a very fun episode, so go and watch that if you have the time to. And how does the relay fight work? Well, of course you need two teams. Each team needs like 3 players, and you could have more if you want, but 3 players are enough. How does it work? Well, you do need yeah, you do need teams with different decks, different clans. Of course, it's the same as a normal team, so that's fair because otherwise it would be like the same fighter. And well, with the first, so you have a first fighter, second fighter, and a third fighter. They would like to call it the Vanguard, the center field, and the captain. And you can choose whichever player plays first, second, third. We will change that rule. We wanted to add a new rule. So this is the first extra rule that we have, which is you have to, like, by chance, you choose which one goes first, second, third. So you just throw a dice, and the highest will start, and then the second and third. Why we do so is because you could, if you know that you will go second, you could adjust your deck as going second, and the same with third. So you could take out your first stride because you don't need it. You could take out your starter if you don't need it. You could take out some cards from your deck because you know you're going second. You need less great ones because maybe you don't really have to ride anything. Maybe you run more grade 3s because you want to stride, but at the same time you want to have option which grade 3 you go into. So that's the reason why we wanted to just throw a dice and which one go first, second, third. That ruling is just the only reason that that ruling is occurred is because we wanted to make it fair that everybody uses the deck that they normally use. If we could also do it with the deck list, if we do that and we see that each player plays a normal deck list, like when he could also go first but also second and third, then you could just choose yourself as a team which one goes first, second, third. But if we can't do that, then we would have to do it by chance. So we will keep the aspect in here that it is possible for every player to go first. So do not adjust your deck as going second or third. And next, we have the damage. The first player would lose at 5 damage, and then the second player will go and play, and he will lose at 8 damage, so he will take 3 additional damage. And the third player will take also 3 additional damage, will put him at 11 damage, and if that happens, the team loses. And here we can see something about the extra damage. So let's say the first fighter is at 4 damage, and he will be attacked with your opponent's Vanguard, and that opponent Vanguard has like 3 crits or 4 crits, so it doesn't matter. If the attack hits you, then you will take only 1 damage. The reason for that is that it does still make it fair for the second player to play and be able to still have the extra 3 damage. So that's why you will lose at 5 damage, and the turn of your opponent will go to the end phase. So when he attacks and he hits you and you're at 5 damage, that would end the turn. And if there are skills like when the attack hits, you can choose an ability. So let's say they have here Mahmoud with his skill. When he hits opponent Vanguard, even if the opponent takes the 5th damage, you can still choose and retire one of your opponent's Vanguard because that skill will still resolve. So the only thing or the only skill that could possibly put you at 6 damage is skills like VMAX that could do you damage after the battle. Those kind of skills can still activate, and everything the end phase or at the end of the battle, something like a charge unit, if a charge unit hits you, it still goes back to the deck, but you will lose at 5 damage. So keep that in mind. So let's now talk about the field and when the second player and the third player take place. The official ruling said when the battle is taken by the next fighter, the previous fighter will collect their deck and their face down G units. There is a problem with this. The problem is if the first fighter is already going into his second or third stride, that would be a problem because the second player would like have a lot of face-up cards. Some of them are G Guardians, so he could not use a lot of G Guardians anymore, and the third player would have like no chance to use G Guardians. Also, they will be able to go into the GB8 very fast. So we wanted to make some different rulings on the field. So if you want to read the official ruling yourself, I advise you to pause the video and read it, or to click on the link that I put below to read this yourself. Maybe by then the rulings will be updated, I don't know, we will see. So this is the field. So you have your deck, your drop zone, the field, so the rear guards, the Vanguard, the damage, and the extra deck face down and the extra deck face up. The damage will stay the same, which is the 5 damage if that the first one lose and 8 damage if the second one lose. And then you have the G zone. So the rulings that we will do on the G zone, you will take your whole G zone with you, so face down card and face up cards. And the only card you will leave face up is your first stride or your first G Guardian. So let's say you went second and you stride first, so you will leave the only card that you had on your finger circle. So let's say you stride first into a Sea Breeze, then you would leave only the Sea Breeze face up. But let's say you stride into Super Rising Nova or something that unflips something from your G zone, you would not leave 2 face up cards, you'd only leave 1 face up card. Only the card that you had on your Vanguard circle. So only your first stride, you will leave that. But if you went first and you G guarded the first attack, then you would leave a G Guardian. So you would leave 1 face up card for your opponent. It's not up to you to choose, it's just the first one that went into your G zone. That's the one that will stay. And then you'll have the drop zone and the deck. Well, obviously you will take your deck with you as the first fighter, and the second fighter will go and put their new deck right here. Their starter will also go into their deck, and they shuffle the deck, so they would have an extra starter in there. And the drop zone will also leave with the deck. The reason for that is we don't want to give Grand Blue extra advantage, because let's say you have Royal Paladin or Shadow Paladin, because the deck would leave, so they would not have advantage from your opponent deck, but Grand Blue will have advantage from having a perfect drop zone left by the first fighter. So we wanted to make changes to that so that the drop zone would leave as well. But everything that is on the field that goes to the drop zone by the second fighter or third fighter will stay right there. So it would not leave the game. Only the cards that they had into the drop zone will leave the game with the deck at that moment that the first fighter and the second fighter exchange places. The damage will stay the same. So let's say you have 5 damage and 2 of them are face down, then it will stay the same. The only class that could benefit from this is Angel Feather, of course, but that's alright. I mean, Angel Feather need to have something to work with. If you say Grand Blue the same, well, yeah, I could agree with you, but we can't give them too much advantage. We are working on this. Maybe we will leave the drop zone. Those extra rulings that we are talking about are just ideas for now. We are testing them out, and we wanted to ask you guys what your opinion are about them. So the second second extra rule will be on the drop zone, and the third extra rule will be on the face-up cards in your G zone. Then the cards in your hands. So let's say the first fighter loses and they had like 3 cards in their hands, and the second fighter will take place. The second fighter will draw as much cards as the first fighter had. So let's say these 3. So he will draw new 3 cards, not the same cards. In the anime, they use the same cards. We can't do that. So the cards will go into your opponent, or go to the first fighter deck, and you can draw just new cards. So you draw 3 new cards and additional 3 cards. So you get for your turn extra 3 cards, and then you start the fight, so you draw 1 more. So you draw 4 cards. And the extra 3 that your opponent left, that your teammate left you, so you'll be able to have 7 cards. You can't redraw, and here we want to add some extra rules. One of the rulings that I myself am a very big fan of is that the second fighter has to ride a new grade 3. Why? Is because it changes the game. I mean, if you stay on the same grade 3 that the first fighter has, that the character of your deck will not be shown. So that's why I think, in my opinion, that the second fighter will have to ride a new grade 3. But my teammates don't agree with me on that, so they said we will leave it optional. The second fighter has the option to choose to ride into a new grade 3 or to stay on the first fighter grade 3. It's alright. I mean, I agree with them. I do see that it would be more fun to be able to choose if you want to go into that or not. The only extra rulings that I would like to add in here, so this would be the fourth rule, is that you get the option to discard a grade 3, any grade 3 from your hand, to ride the right grade 3 from your deck if you don't have it in your hand. So let's say you play Luard and you want to ride Luard, but in the 7 cards that you drew, you don't have any Luard. So you show your hand to your opponent, like a G-assist, and you discard 1 card to get in Luard from your deck and you ride it. Remember guys, these decks that we are going to play are not based on the first or the second or the third. They're just the normal decks that you play in a normal fight. So this is still fair in my opinion. If you guys think, well, no, it's not fair, you can't just get the right grade 3, well, that's alright. I mean, you do need to play the deck with the right character, so why not go into your own grade 3? You have the option to do so, you don't really have to. That's why we left the option that you guys could use the previous fighter grade 3. You could just stay on the same grade 3 if you want the whole fight, but I would like to give the second and the third fighter the option to go into the right grade 3. The reason for that is that some decks doesn't work with other grade 3s. So let's say you play something like Angel Feathers and, well, Angel Feathers is not the right example, but anything that uses a Vanguard with a special name. So all the fighters cards will be like Ray Elementals, so that's alright. You could just use them. You don't really have to use an Angel Feather Vanguard for an Angel Feather skill. Also, the Lord skill will also go off, so it doesn't apply anymore. But the only thing is sometimes you need a Luard Vanguard for a Luard skill. So let's say you need to use Owl skill, you do need a Luard Vanguard. So that's why I would like to give the second and third fighter the option to go into their own grade 3. The same with my Rising Nova deck. If I don't get Rising Nova, the deck doesn't really work. So that's why it's more fun to be able to have your right grade 3. Then we have some special rulings. The first one is the second and third fighter will be shuffled, so the starter will go to their deck and be shuffled, and you draw the new cards. And also cards that are returned from the field to the deck will leave the field, will leave the game. So let's say you use something like Refros or anything that goes back to the deck. They will go to their original deck, and you could just shuffle your deck. And that's the reason for that, is that you could just see because of the sleeve, or then you can call something from your deck. And the advantage that we gave in this to the Grand Blue players is that when something goes to the drop zone, it will stay in the drop zone. So that's a good thing for them. And also the player cannot call from other decks. So let's say you play Time Leap or Spike Rose or anything that could call, like Morokumu. You can't call from your teammate deck, of course, but the cards, when they go back to their to the deck, they will go to their original deck. So yeah, let's see what this ruling also said. So when a card is returned from the deck to the drop zone for the Legion skill, they also go to the deck. Well, of course, and the Legion mate is searched. So let's say you put some cards from your drop zone back for the Legion skill, and it's the same ruling. So if they go to their deck, then they will go to the original deck. You cannot search from your other member deck, of course, that's what I just said. And if a card returned from the hand, if it's not your own card and it's on the field, then, or in the drop zone, then it can't return to your hand. I remember that. The reason for that is, as I said, it's the same with the deck. Maybe because of the sleeves, or just for some reasons that they don't want the cards to go to the hand and the deck. I'm okay with this ruling, especially because most of us play different sleeves, and we really don't want to mix the decks and change these rulings. So we will leave these rulings as well. We think it's fair. So the only ruling that we add is the second ruling, which was on the drop zone. Remember that the drop zone would leave with the deck, which will give the players of Grand Blue less advantage. and they would have to use their first right to mill more, or just use the cards that they have on the field to create a drop zone. So yeah, I would like to thank you guys for watching this video. Also, remember to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our channel. We'd love all the likes, the love, the support that you guys give us. Also, tell us what you think about these rulings. So we have, the first rule was that, let me think. The first rule was on, oh yeah, on the player's turn. So who goes first, second, third? You throw a dice to choose which one, which will give it more fair advantage because of the buildings of the deck. Otherwise, if you could say to everyone, use the deck that you normally use in the tournament, and everybody would use the normal deck, then that would be alright. Then you could just choose which one goes first, second, third. The second rulings was on the drop zone. The drop zone would leave with the deck because for the Grand Blue players. The third one was on the G zone, that you could only leave one face-up card in the G zone for the second player. And when the third player take place, they would also leave one more. So let's say the first one they would leave only one face-up card. The second one would leave also one face-up card, and the third one will just go and have GB2 already. So the second player has GB1 and the third player has GB2, which is alright. I mean, that could be fair enough. But they can't just go into their GB8 right away. So yeah. And yeah, that's it. We had yeah. So thanks guys for watching, and as I said, tell us what you think about these rulings, and till next time, bye.